Welcome back to Sports Call here on Tiger 95.9. Ryan Lavoie, Brooks Childress hanging out. It's SEC Media Days 2026 in Tampa, Florida, and we are pleased to be joined by the former Alabama running back, current analyst on CBS Sports, Damien Harris, joining us today. Damien, we appreciate the time. How are you doing?
Man, first of all, thank y'all for having me. I mean, I am as blessed as could be, man. This is a wonderful week. We get to see all these teams, these coaches, these players come out, represent themselves in the right manner. You know, we make connections. Some like Auburn guys and Alabama guys end up sitting down, talking, having a nice conversation. Man, this is a great week, man, and I feel very fortunate to have the job that I do, the career that I do, and, you know, get to sit and talk sports with you guys.
Absolutely. And, again, we had you on for the first time last year, and good to catch back up with you again. Obviously, the tenor last year was, can Auburn get something in the forward direction? They did not. And so now it is Alex Golesh in charge in Auburn. We've been asking people all week, just as kind of a generic side, but also with the Auburn flavor to it, when this age of transfer portal and the ability to flip rosters so quickly, how fair is it to really shorten up the expectations in terms of timeline? And does Auburn kind of fit that criteria for you?
Well, I think that it depends on the history of your program. I mean, I say that respectfully, but like I'm going to talk about my alma mater. If you're in Alabama or if you're a team that has high championship pedigree, championship level infrastructure, it's unfortunate because, yes, we do have that same high expectation of this is what we expect. We expect national championships year in and year out. It's incredibly unfair because, well, he's going to have a completely different roster next year than he has this year. Same thing with Auburn. You got a new coaching staff. You got a new set of receivers. You got a new quarterback. Like in a situation for Auburn, this can definitely be a positive, right? Because let's be honest, Auburn has been through the ringer the past couple of years. The offense has looked stuck in the mud at times. So I definitely see how this plays an advantage to some. But overall, in totality, how do we expect teams to develop championship-level rosters, take cornerstone pieces that, you know, show this is going to be a guy that we can depend on for 3 or 4 years, and the next thing you know, he's gone? How do we put those same expectations on people when the transactionality of it is so volatile? Like, it's very unfair. But again, if you're Auburn, you might just hit the jackpot, and, you know, we'll see what happens with them this year.
As a running back, I got to ask you this because we've heard Alex Golesh talk about it for Auburn all offseason. We heard Kalen DeBoer mention it today. Running the football, and there's a lot of other coaches that have said it throughout their media days throughout college football. Is like, we got to get back to running the football. What is the reason why teams are having a little trouble running the football? Is it because you're trying to piece together offensive lines through the portal, or is there something the defenses have been doing recently?
I think that I'll say this, putting the onus on the offensive line and, you know, replacing those pieces, that is definitely a part of it. But I also think that that's a cop-out. I think when coaches sit up here and say, we need to get back to running the football, my response, in my mind, I can't say this on air, it's like, well, then just do it. There's no X's and O's to that. Run the football. If you want to be a team that runs the football, you have to be okay with getting 2 and 1 and 3 and maybe 0 and maybe a -1, but then a 3, a 5. You have to be okay with those types of runs. Nobody is happy with those types of runs anymore. Offensive coordinators do not like those types of runs anymore. Offensive coordinators now want to score as fast as possible. I sat at CBS talking to Kirby Smart yesterday, and he was actually complaining because his team had too many 15-play drives last year, 12-play drives, 16-play drives. He was like, man, we got to get an explosive playmaker. That way we can cut that in half. And I'm sitting here thinking, yes, I understand that. But Georgia is a great example of they still do things the old school way. They're going to bore you to death. They're going to lull you to sleep. They're going to play the field position game. They're going to accept 2 and 3 runs, 2 and 3 yards a pop on a run, and they're going to keep playing their game. I can't say that about 98% of the rest of the college football world. It's like I'm seeing teams with great running backs, talented running backs that can be a huge part of your game plan. You get 2 or 3 carries in the first quarter and the back's got maybe 3 or 5 yards because he's got a 1-yard run, a 3-yard run. He's still feeling his way through the defense trying to figure out how do they play, how do they fit gaps properly, how do the linebackers trigger, how do my offensive linemen react to the defensive line movement and stunts. Well, guess what? Your offensive coordinator's like, you know what, we only got 3 yards on the first drive running the football, so we're not, you know what, we're just going to throw the ball 50, 60 times. To me, it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. Back when I played at Alabama, I believe, well, I know for a fact, I played for the greatest running back coach of all time, Burton Burns. He coached 2 Heisman winners, countless Doak Award winners, countless All-Americans. He draft picks, you name it. He coached them all. He used to tell us all the time, as long as we took the proper footwork, as long as we hit our aiming point, as long as we did what we were coached to do, which is press the aiming point, get the linebacker or the safeties at the third level to commit here, and then I cut based off of where my read tells me to go. If it's a 1 yard run, that's a damn good 1 yard run. You know why? Because you did exactly what we asked you to do. Guess what? The guys on the other side of the ball, they're good too. The defensive coordinators on the other side of the ball, they're good too. You know what makes a good running back great? Having the time and the confidence from his coaches that, okay, well, this run ain't popping right now, but eventually it's going to come. Perfect example of that, Derrick Henry against Auburn. You guys remember that game? Y'all were doing a pretty good job of keeping him contained. And guess what we did? We kept giving him the ball. And we kept giving him the ball. And you know what he ended up doing? He ended up carrying the ball for the last maybe 17 to 20 plays of the game. And guess what he did? Those last 10 to 15 carries, I don't know if y'all remember, it was like, okay.
Oh, the dam was beginning to break.
It was like, okay, he just took that for 3. Oh, okay, that one went for 6. Oh, damn, he got 12 on that one, and it just went and went. Derrick finished the game with 270 yards on 46 carries. Yep. That is what a commitment to running the football looks like. Now, am I saying every running back needs to run the ball 50 times? Absolutely not. We don't have a lot of Derrick Henrys out there. Matter of fact, we don't have any.
He's a cyborg, to be fair.
But I think y'all get the point that I'm making is, one, coaches have to make a commitment to running the football. You can't go out here and say, well, we've got to run the football better, we've got to do this, if you're not committed to running the football. 2, you have to instill confidence in your backs that even if a 1 or a 2 yard run is all you get, that's a good run. We're going to keep calling it because, like you guys just said, eventually the dam is going to break. And number 3, running backs need time to get in a rhythm. That's why whenever I played at Bama, we had a rotation of them. We had 3, 4, 5 stars at a time. We would let backs go until they found their rhythm, and then until we felt like, okay, they found their rhythm, now they're getting a little bit gassed. We ran the substitution. The players, the coaches didn't even have to do that unless they wanted somebody for a specific package. But I knew, if Bo Scarborough is out there and he gets 2 or 3 carries and they're not really what he likes, leave him out there so he can find his rhythm. That way I can go out there, I can hit them with a different flavor. They're probably going to play me a little bit differently because he's 6'3", 235, and I'm 5'10", 205. They're going to play me a little bit differently. Now let me feel my way out. It's got to be a commitment.
Couple of things there, Damien. First, when you were talking about even, having to deal with the short runs, I thought to myself, man, you know what a 1 yard run is better than? An incomplete pass.
You're damn right.
When we're on the early downs, an incomplete pass is going to be less effective than even less effective run plays. Mm-hmm. But the other thing I want to talk to you about there, you mentioned at the end, the rhythm, because we hear that a lot with quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Oh, he's out of rhythm right now, or don't take a quarterback out because even for a running package because he might lose his rhythm. We don't talk about rhythm with running backs as often. And I think about Auburn's running back room this year. They're going to likely try to play 3 to 4 guys. Mm-hmm. How do you keep everyone in rhythm when you're not just playing one guy and you are trying to go down the depth chart a little bit?
Well, I'm not going to lie. There's only one football and you got 4 guys. So there are going to have to be some people that understand your opportunity may come a little bit later. But for the guys who are going to play, the guys who are going to get majority of those reps, it's just important that the guys know their role on the team, right? If you've got a bell cow back who's going to be your first and second down back and you expect them to hand the bulk of those down and distances, then they need to be working those reps in practice. And in the game situation, if that's what they're in for, that's what they need to be in for. Not because, okay, we've got a guy who's a first and second down guy, he doesn't get very many positive yards on first down, so we're going to throw the other back in. No, everybody has a role. Everybody has a job. Once that's identified, then everybody can work on how can I improve my role on the team so that I can make this guy better. That way I can make the offensive line better. That way I can make the picture clear for the quarterback so he can read and get the ball out to the receivers? What's my job? How can I do my job? That's where transparency comes from coaches. You can't tell these guys all four of you are going to get the ball and you're all going to play. Hell, they didn't tell us that, and we had a bunch of 5-stars. We had guys that were upset about how much they weren't getting the ball, and it's just like you have to understand what your role is, and we need you to do that role. Both Nick Saban and Bill Belichick both taught me something very important, and it's called the 1-11 rule. Do your 1-11. There are 11 guys on the field at a time. If 10 guys do their job and one guy doesn't, you're more than likely going to have an unsuccessful play because you're expecting somebody else to do the heavy lifting or to do more or do your part. Just do your job. And if I'm like I said, if I'm the coaching staff, I'm identifying who I want my first, second down runner to be. If I need a third down back, who's that going to be? If I've got a guy that can play all 3 downs, if I got 2 guys that can play all 3 downs, how are we going to split their series? Let's have a plan. That way nobody's confused. That way nobody is unexpectedly taken out and feeling like they don't have an opportunity to get their rhythm. If you're transparent, everybody knows what their role is. It's then their job to execute their role.
Let's look at this year for the SEC. We've been talking about first-year head coaches coming in. We've been talking about some of the big dogs of the conference this year. Who's a team that you think nobody is talking too much about that we could see in Atlanta at the end of the year?
A team that we aren't talking about, because I mean, obviously, when we assess who we think has the best chances, right? We're thinking Texas, Georgia, Ole Miss. A&M is up there. Obviously, Lane Kiffin at LSU. That's a big toss-up. I'll be honest. I love the hires of Alex Golesh and John Sumrall. I love where both of these programs are headed because, again, when you talk about going out and getting what you need, that's a big part of all this, right? Whether you're looking in the transfer portal, whether you're allocating NIL, whether you're going out and finding head coaches, it's all about addressing the needs of your program. I think Auburn's biggest need is offensive production. And you go and get a head coach in Alex Golesh who set the scoreboard and the stat lines up in South Florida. And guess what he did? He brought his quarterback and he brought his receivers. That is a phenomenal job in terms of what do we need? Let's identify and let's go out and fix it. Phenomenal job. I'll go to Florida. What did Florida need? They just need a culture change. They've got the athletes. They've had the athletes. I know they lost DJ Lagway. I thought he could have been better than what he was at Florida. But in totality, that was more of a culture issue. And sitting down, I had the opportunity to sit down with John Sumrall. The passion in his eyes, the intensity in which he brings when you sit down and talk to him, his love for football, the fact that he dealt with a career-ending neck injury in college, and days after he was injured, that same staff asked him to come on and be a coach for that same staff, coach the guys that you played with. That shows the type of culture that he has within him that he's willing to extract out of Florida. He told me the University of Florida, the program as a whole, is a sleeping giant. Somebody needs to wake it up, and it's going to be me. And if you're a program that needs a culture shock, I mean, what I just said that I heard from Sumrall, that sounds pretty damn good to me.
We're talking to Damien Harris, the former Alabama and NFL running back, currently working with CBS Sports. So, Damien, we had Benjamin Watson on earlier. I wanted to ask him about the Georgia-Florida rivalry because, you know, they've been going to neutral site, Jacksonville, forever, but now they're going to move it around. There's talk about it going on campus. I want to go to your side of it with some of the rivalries that you've had at Alabama. And, I mean, this one obviously is comes to mind, but I also want to think to the teams that Alabama has played that have still been rivals even if they were not the Iron Bowl. I think of LSU, for example, because that's a team that Alabama will no longer play every single year. They'll play them every other year. And I wonder your opinion on games and teams like that. Do you think that they can maintain the same sort of status when they're played every other year as opposed to every year?
I mean, I definitely think the games lose a little bit of importance. I think they lose a little bit of that bitterness. Like, you know, I remember showing up to Death Valley in Baton Rouge. I remember showing up to Neyland Stadium. I remember showing up to Jordan Hare and just having an instant bad taste in my mouth and just, man, I gotta see these guys again. I do think that gets watered down. And just speaking honestly and truthfully, I think that the changing landscape in college football is starting to dilute the product a little bit. Obviously, we're all sitting here hoping and wishing that it doesn't completely get diluted, or that we're not too far gone to where we can get back all the elements that we love and miss about the game. But the product, as we see it, it is diluted.
He is Damien Harris joining us today on Sports Call. Damien, we've certainly appreciated the time with you.
Yeah,
Look forward to your coverage across CBS Sports this fall.
Thank you so much. Roll Tide.
That is Damien Harris joining us today on Sports Call.